So now we've added a little bit of randomness as well. And mixing it up like that is quite good because you don't want everything following your geometry. You want little bits where you make small adjustments just to subvert expectations a little bit and make it look a little bit more random and natural. So let's have a look next at our shanties. So here I've got both the shanties and the balconies with my two different texture sets. And let me just go into my IDs. And I'll select both the blue, which is the shanties, and the green, which is the balconies. Turn this off. And here, just make that the mask. Okay. And actually, because these textures only appear on the houses and the balconies, let's delete the mask, which will apply it. So now we have our texture without the black background. And let's again create a new mask for wherever we want to, for example, use the eraser to erase the shanty texture where we don't like it. And let's make the same selection for this layer and just make a mask and delete it. And with this one as well, we can make an alpha mask and erase it out where we want. Or actually, because this one consists of more bold colors, I'll just click Ctrl I to invert the mask so it's black to begin with. And then maybe start painting it in where I think it looks good. So what I would do is do a huge paint stroke and then kind of look, are any of these visually pleasing textures? And if so, then I'll replace the ones from this layer with the new ones. So I think here, if I again zoom in a little bit, I quite like this area. I think there are some nice color combinations going on. Let's keep that. Maybe delete there. And let's have a look here. That's quite cool. Maybe let's erase that. And we're just sort of playing around with these possibilities. The great thing to do here is to render out as many of these as you can be bothered, really, because then they'll come in useful no matter what. There will always be one texture where some little bit of it is slightly nicer than something that is on a different texture. And it's really cool to make use of those opportunities. Maybe that's too eye-catchy for that corner. Cool, let's have a look here. Just draw a bunch and see, do any of these look kind of pleasing? So I think, yeah, I'm interested in maybe keeping all of that for now. Just trying to get a nice variety. Let's paint it in here. Oh yeah, like that's nice. I quite like this. A little accident. Let's just do some here. Okay. Let's add our depth again. So that's kind of looking cool. We can improve it. Let's select the red here. And let's just go back into our marble, hide the selection, and paint a little bit here maybe. Maybe here. And you know, this is highly subjective regarding what looks good and what doesn't. And There are 1,000 different combinations that could look nice. 1,000 different kind of color variations, but these are the ones I've chosen to go with. So this is what you're all getting. Okay, so I quite like that. And let's have a look at the gold here. So currently not really working all that well. A lot of it because the projection was cubic and actually does not work all that well for those domes. So I think maybe here let's just have a look at using a quick and dirty solution and just clone stamping a bit of this gold texture to fix this. Just smoothing it out a little bit. Where I want it. Okay. Let's have a look at disabling this. Oh, this needs a lot of fixing. Maybe select all of this and filter blur. Gaussian blur, let's look at this. Yeah, okay. Slightly better. So I think what I want with these is, first of all, let me apply this layer mask by click and delete. So now my layer doesn't have the other background. Actually, let me make a copy of it before I do that. I don't want to lose that. And here in the copy, let's clear the mask and get rid of that. So this gold layer now just contains the temples. So if I make a new mask and invert it to be black, and then select my brush with white color and just paint them in exactly where I want them. So I only want the domes to be gold. Just do a little bit here. Just paint this as well. And we'll have to fix some of these later on. But I just want to get all of the sort of main domes to be gold in an effort to hopefully lead the eye of anyone looking at this along these sort of temples and to the grand one in the middle. A little bit here. I'm just trying not to overuse the gold too much. I think, sorry. I think you have to be realistic with the kind of city that you're building. Would the people living there have the money to build all this? Already it's kind of looking a little bit expensive, so let's not go overboard with the gold. And that is one of the main important, mostly important things to think about when creating cities is if these cities are built using certain materials that you're using, is it plausible that the society would have them? You know, If they have marble, it's reasonably likely that they're going to have some gold and things like that, and just kind of trying to consider all of the aspects of the world that you're building. And I guess, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you think about it, then it kind of translates into your work and might be easier for any viewers to digest. Let's do that. Okay. And let's just go back into it and smooth these out a little bit. Let's have a look at using the blur tool. I never do it, but maybe we'll get some good results. Okay. We want the clone stamp. And I'll just try to fix this a little bit more. And when working on the actual artwork, when I originally made it, I put in quite a bit of time to really smoothing out and making these domes perfect. I think in some cases I even, say, copied one of them by clicking Ctrl J and use them for another one, and then click Ctrl plus Alt plus G to parent it to that and apply this, I think, slightly better texture to this one as well. Just little things like that. But for now it should be good. And also let's maybe have a look at duplicating this again. And it actually kind of looks cool when it's all gold. Definitely much richer. If we make this apply in the cracks, similarly to how we worked with the grass earlier, maybe we could get a cool look in some areas. Maybe like it makes it look like the building was actually in much better condition and was much more gold, and then the gold has flaked away in places, things like that. So now let's just add a layer mask to this again. And let's have a small look at where we could maybe apply this. I think maybe let's select the red and click Ctrl plus H to hide it. And let's just use a soft brush to paint in some extra gold in places, like maybe here. And then, yeah, I really like it on this building, just drawing attention to that and using it a little bit sparingly. Maybe not. Just to add a little bit of pop to some parts of the image. And if you click hold down Shift and click on the layer mask, it disables it, so you can go back and quickly look at where else this texture looks good and apply it there. So for example, maybe a little bit here. Okay, maybe there. Yeah. So now if I add my depth and ambient occlusion, we see that we already have a almost cool looking image. I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to still be done with all of these textures, but you can play around with that for a long time. Maybe, here I can select a soft brush to use as the eraser and lower the opacity a little bit, and maybe rub off a little bit of this white in places, where it's a bit too much, and can get some kind of cool results. Okay. Let's maybe add a few more accents. Perhaps if I select blue. And I'm kind of picking these at random, but just looking for kind of a right distribution of the color. So for example here I kind of like highlighting this a little bit more. Maybe let's have a look elsewhere. I think this maybe could look quite cool. And I keep thinking about which areas of the image the city looks rich in. So this whole center area does look like a rich kind of, I guess, or not rich, maybe just a very central location in the city, which would maybe be more clean and wealthy looking. And then here, it's sort of more of a slummy looking area, so maybe I don't want marble here. Just kind of trying to bring that variety to the image. I think also, if we have a look at our grass, maybe let's apply some more of it in places. I think this area looks quite a lot better as a sort of a garden. Just select the bigger brush. Oh, why is this failing me? Oh, I've still got my selection, so if I click Control deselect, that's the danger of hiding your selection. Sometimes you forget you still have it, and I wasn't sure why that wasn't working. So, let's just paint that in there. Just a little bit more life around here maybe, and have like a leaf brush here that I just use to create a little bit of random, I guess, variation. So let's just paint a little bit more around here. Like this. Actually, no, let's do this in the other layer, which we made slightly darker. Let's have a look here. This is a lot better. So, let's maybe do a little bit here. And I think maybe even a third layer of this grass. Let's just fix the mask so it's all white. And if we go to blending options and just key out the highlights, I think it's nice getting a bit of grass in these cracks in the marble. See how far we can drop it. Maybe this much. And so now, let's paint a bit of that into there. And it looks like it's overgrown in the cracks, so it's kind of a nice effect. Oops, we don't want it above the wood. Yeah, a little bit here. And again, maybe let's make this a little bit less bright by going to curves. So that's quite cool. Maybe let's also have a look in our shanties. And once again paint in some more here, I think. I think blue looks a little bit more eye-catching than brown there. Oops. Okay. And you can go into a lot of detail with this to where maybe you like the texture on any one individual house better one way or another. And I would recommend kind of playing around with this for quite a while, just to not get too much of one color or too little of the other, to have a nice healthy variety. Because sometimes, like for example here, you can start seeing the repeating textures, so let's change a few of those. Okay, that'll do for now. Maybe a little bit more gold here somewhere. Let's do a bit of this. That's quite cool. Okay, so that's kind of the first stage explained, I think. And here I've spent less than an hour and created quite a cool result immediately. And I would recommend spending maybe a few hours on this, or a few days. Well, maybe not a few days, maybe a couple of days. And that's definitely how long it took me with my original. And it's just a matter of using a matter of using all of these same techniques and just going into detail and painting in little accents where you want them. The main important things to keep in mind are, for example, using bold, kind of noticeable colors sparingly. So if you have white or gold, things like that, I would kind of use them less and then use other muddier colors, darker colors to fill in the gaps, and then kind of maybe draw out a detail here or there with bolder colors, but really use them to draw the viewer's eye across the image. So for example here I'm kind of creating, if I just paint them now, sort of lines for the viewer to follow the image. So here it kind of goes like this, and then here it goes like this maybe, and then my thought maybe here it can kind of descend along this. So this line ties in nicely with this being kind of a noticeable bit, and then going here past like these steps which are white, and then gold and white and gold, and really kind of using the gold as well to dot around and sort of lead your eye to the center here as well. Gold, 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 and then here from this, so like these go like this, hopefully, and just really kind of use those elements to draw the viewer's eye where you want it. But apart from that, there is nothing more in this stage, and it's actually really easy to set up, and then you can get great results within a very short time. And of course, a good thing to do while painting things this way is to go and have a look at your reference as well. Look at the distribution of the colors that you have. For example, here you can see some very interesting patterns in how the red and the white intersect. For example, for the domes here, they use the white, and the towers are red with stripes, and you know, you can apply a lot of those lessons in your own work, right? Here, for example, how all of this dirt interacts, and you know how using the ambient occlusion method or the blend if method you can add dirty cracks in between all of these, and just spending time to really get all of these textures interacting nicely. And while I work, I continuously try to remind myself to look back at all of these sort of images to get a better idea of how these textures would work naturally. For example, here if you look at the distribution of colors, right? This is also quite interesting to then go into your work and try to mimic that a little bit. So here I'll quickly show you the final result from my original piece, where I was just working with triplanars, and kind of I'll show you how there's very little difference between that and what we've just done. Okay, so here's the previous result and the current result. And as you can see, it's very difficult to arrive at the same conclusion both times. I tried to aim for the same look, and I still managed to make it look quite a bit different. But I hope this lets you see that you can kind of spend just a little bit of time and get some very different results if you try. So that's my original, and these are my new. So in the next lesson, let's have a look at starting to overpaint additional photographic elements over our image and really try to get away from the CG look which we still have. And we'll kind of go through how using photographs helps you add that last little bit of element of scale and detail into your image without having to create insane scattering setups in Clarice. So, you know, for little things where there's no point in spending too much time on them, this is the perfect way to do it. So, let's see you in the next lesson.